The year was 1917. A time of turmoil, desperation, and change. The Russian Empire, once one of the most powerful nations in the world, stood on the brink of collapse. Decades of oppression, economic instability, and war had pushed the people to their breaking point. It was a revolution that would change the course of history forever. For over 300 years, Russia had been ruled by the Romanov dynasty. Tsar Nicholas II, the last emperor of Russia, believed in the divine right of kings. He ruled with absolute authority, disconnected from the struggles of his people. But beneath the surface, resentment had been growing. The working class suffered from extreme poverty, while the aristocracy lived in luxury. The peasants, who made up nearly 80% of the population, toiled endlessly under harsh conditions. The seeds of revolution had already been sown. And then came World War I. The war drained Russia's resources, led to massive casualties, and intensified public anger. Food shortages, military failures, and economic collapse shattered the nation's stability. The people were hungry, desperate, and angry. On March 8, 1917, February 23 in the old Russian calendar, protests erupted in Petrograd, modern-day St. Petersburg. What began as a women's march for bread quickly turned into a massive workers' strike. Factories shut down, and the streets filled with chants demanding peace. Bread. Land. The unrest spread like wildfire. The soldiers, instead of suppressing the uprising, joined the protesters. The monarchy's hold on power was crumbling. On March 15, 1917, Tsar Nicholas II abdicated the throne, ending centuries of autocratic rule. The Russian Provisional Government, led by Alexander Kerensky, took control. Many believed democracy had finally arrived. But the storm was far from over. The Provisional Government promised reforms but struggled to deliver. It refused to withdraw from World War I, and inflation continued to rise. The people were losing faith. Meanwhile, in the shadows, a radical socialist group called the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, was preparing for a new revolution. Lenin, exiled in Switzerland, returned to Russia in April 1917 with a bold vision: all power to the Soviets. Peace, land, and bread. The Bolsheviks gained popularity among workers and soldiers, who were tired of war and empty promises. By October 1917, they were ready to strike. On October 25, 1917, November 7 in the modern calendar, the Bolsheviks, backed by the Red Guards, seized key locations in Petrograd. The Winter Palace, the seat of the provisional government, fell with barely a fight. By the morning of October 26, the Bolsheviks declared victory. Lenin proclaimed, "We shall now proceed to construct the socialist order." Russia was now in the hands of the world's first communist government. The new regime quickly took radical steps: land was redistributed, factories were taken over by workers, and Russia withdrew from World War I. The revolution, however, was far from peaceful. Russia was thrown into a brutal civil war, 1918 to 1922, between the Red Army, Bolsheviks, and the White Army, anti-Bolshevik forces. Foreign powers, including Britain, France, and the United States, intervened, fearing the spread of communism. But the Red Army, led by Leon Trotsky, emerged victorious. By 1922, the Soviet Union was born, a new socialist state built on the ruins of the Russian Empire. The Russian Revolution reshaped global politics. It inspired communist movements worldwide and ignited a struggle between capitalism and communism that would define the 20th century. But it also brought terror. Joseph Stalin, who later succeeded Lenin, ruled with an iron fist, launching brutal purges and political repression. The revolution had promised equality, but for many, it became a nightmare. Still, the Russian Revolution remains one of the most significant events in history, a moment when the people rose against tyranny, but in doing so, unleashed forces that would shape the world for generations to come. And so,